All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into Four Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. First round of the college football playoff wrapping up. I'm actually filming this with about 5 minutes left in the Ohio State-Tennessee game because it's 42-10 Buckeyes, kind of a theme of the first round. We'll talk about the blowouts. I think there's some overreaction to those, but some tweaks that are probably needed as this playoff continues to evolve and move forward. But going to react to all four games, plus take an updated look at the bracket as we are down to the final 8 teams. Quarterfinals get going on New Year's Eve. So should be a lot of fun. Still think there's some great football ahead, even if some of these games didn't quite deliver. All right, subscribe to the channel. We got you guys covered. Daily NFL college football content. We did a Notre Dame, Indiana watch party, which ironically ended up being the closest game in terms of score, 10 points, even though 2 of those touchdowns were in garbage time. Pretty funny how that played out. But listen, if you want reaction to every big game in the NFL and college football, a couple of NFL games today as well. We react, we discuss it all, news, rumors, game reaction. That's what we do. It's free. Do not miss out. All right, let's focus on the night game here. Then we'll kind of do some quick hitters on the other 3 games that took place this weekend. 2 today, then 1 last night. What a performance by Will Howard, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Day in the Ohio State Buckeyes. Listen, I'm not going to act like this is like winning a national championship, but I do believe that Ryan Day might have been coaching for his job tonight. And not only did he win this game, they beat the shit out of Tennessee. I mean, it's 42-10. All backups are in. 5 minutes left. By the time you watch this game, probably will about be wrapped up. But just completely decimated the Volunteers. I picked Tennessee. I thought the distractions, I thought that Michigan performance, I just did not like the vibe around Ohio State, knowing that outside of Michigan, Ryan Day wins just about every game he coaches in. I still picked against him because I thought the vibes were so down. I couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, they came out with a purpose. Will Howard dropping dimes. They took a 21-0 lead. Tennessee showed some fight in the second quarter, got it to 21-10 at halftime, but when the Vols went 3 and out to start the third quarter, then Ohio State scored again to go up 28-10. You're like, all right, that was the game. That was their only chance. They needed to come out and score at least a field goal to start the second half to make it a 1-score game, because then, you know, the crowd, it gets a little tense, these players, coaches, but never got close enough for Ohio State to even sweat in this one, and really in all 3 phases. I mean, you knew early on a couple things. One, Will Howard straight down the field, they score on a long touchdown pass to Jeremiah Smith. They did get a little lucky because Tennessee's defense actually forced a 3 and out, but on the third down sack, they grasped Howard's face mask, and then boom, like 4 plays later, it was a touchdown. So that seemed to boost Ohio State early, just catch a little break like that. And then on Tennessee's first possession, on 3rd and 4 or 5, Nico scrambles and gets hit so hard that his helmet cracked. That was kind of a metaphor of the game. Ohio State brought their big boy pants on, their big boy pads, and they were cracking skulls. They were generating big plays on offense with Travion Henderson in the passing game. Defense was hitting hard. They played with the purpose tonight. You can't go back and change the Michigan game. That sucks. I get it. Even if they win the national championship, there's still going to be a small part of like, God, how do we lose that Michigan team? But they played like a team that said, you know what? Instead of sulking on that, we still have a chance to go win a national championship. And if they play like they did tonight, they got a good shot to beat Oregon next week. I mean, they easily could have beat them the first time at Autzen Stadium. Now they get a second crack in the Rose Bowl. When Ohio State is firing on all cylinders, they are the most talented team in the country. And they showed that tonight. There's no question. For Tennessee, kind of more of the same for Josh Heupel on the road. He has not won a single big game on the road. Nico Iamaleava, some questions I would say surrounding him heading into the offseason. First full year as a starter, I'm not acting like his job's in jeopardy going into next year, but, you know, he never really just steadily improved throughout the season. He kind of was just okay all year. There were certainly moments, but it's not like he strung together a 4-game stretch where it's like, okay, it's clicking now. The talent's there. He ran around a lot tonight, showed a lot of toughness. He did show me that. He took some hard hits both when he was running around and in the pocket. Their O-line certainly wasn't helping out. Their receivers couldn't separate. So this isn't a Nico-centric problem, but they just could not answer. And when Marty Smith, one of the ESPN sideline guys tonight, said this is now officially tied for the coldest game ever at kickoff in Tennessee history, I didn't really think cold weather necessarily helped Ohio State based on the style of these two teams. Both are very physical. But when you hear coldest game ever, that's one of those where you're like, okay, this could be a problem. And once Ohio State got it big early, it's just they never looked back. So Buckeyes handle their business. Good for them. Good for Ryan Day, because if he lost this game tonight, I think he might have been fired tomorrow morning. All right, the afternoon game today, probably the best game of the opening weekend, to be honest. Texas 38, Clemson 24. The game was never really in doubt. Clemson did erase a 31-10 deficit to cut it to 7, but then Jaden Blue ripped off a 77-yard touchdown run to put them away for good, 38-24. I give Dabo and the boys credit. They hung around, and this is probably the worst defense he's had at Clemson in a long time, and their offense kept punching back. I think Garrett Riley's done a really nice job with Cade Klubnik. Klubnik played really well, I thought. I think he threw 3 touchdowns, so he was fighting in there. But you just watch that game, and you're like, Texas just has more talent. I mean, period, end of story. They're better in the trenches by a pretty wide margin, and their skill talent is significantly better. Wisner and Blue had it going. Helmet tight end. A couple of their receivers were making big plays. You know, Quinn Ewers kind of just managed the game. The one pick he threw hit his receiver right in the hands, went right to Clemson. And that's kind of the misleading part of this game. While this game was entertaining, Texas had about 4 plays that if it 50-50 plays that if it goes their way, this is probably a blowout. That's kind of been the theme of their season, though, so I'm not going to take anything away from Clemson. But Texas was 0 for 3 on 4th down. And then the receiver dropped a pass that got intercepted and led to points. Like, if 2 of those 4 go Texas's way, you're probably looking at a 3 or 4 score game. But Clemson battled. They had some things go their way, gave themselves a tiny chance, down 7 in the 4th quarter. If they get a stop, they'd have a shot, but couldn't get that stop, and that ultimately was the ball game. But good performance by Texas. I would think they feel pretty good about their chances against Arizona State, a team that wants to run the football against the Texas defense that does not allow you to run on them very much. So Texas got a good draw, took advantage in round 1. We'll see if they can do so in round 2. For Clemson, Cade Klubnik should be back. I doubt he goes to the NFL. And, I think they'll probably enter next season as the favorites to win the ACC. I think that's very much in play. Dabo, I saw, actually used the portal. They got a receiver out of the portal. We'll see if they add some more key guys there. I don't think he's all of a sudden going to be Ohio State and add 10 guys, but if he can evolve a little bit, I think Clemson could get back to being at least somewhat in the mix. But clearly they were, they lost 3 games for a reason, is the point I'm trying to make. Like, better than I thought they would play, but still kind of a ways away from being a true national championship contender. All right, poor SMU. Jesus. I thought they could hang in this game, and Kevin Jennings just never recovered from that 4th and 1. And I will stand by this. You guys are probably going to look at me like I'm crazy. Outside of Kevin Jennings, the SMU quarterback, I felt like in the first half, this game was pretty even. But he was literally throwing the game to the other team. So on the first drive, they're going straight down the field. They're running the ball. They're passing it straight into the red zone. 4th and 1, Rhett Lashley rolls the dice. I like it. Go take a 7-0 lead on the road. Try and calm down that Rockets environment. Runs a bootleg with Jennings. He could have gotten the first with the scramble. He would have only gotten a couple yards. But his guy came wide open, and I think it was the right move to throw it, because if he hits him, it's an easy touchdown. But he was so open, you could tell, he kind of like shot put guided it. Like, he didn't rear back all the way. You don't need to throw a fastball, but still spin the rock. And he just tried to guide it. Like, it's like in an NBA game when a guy on like a 4-on-2 break is wide open on a 3 where he could literally take 3 dribbles, have a sip of a beer of someone sitting courtside, and then shoot it. he's so open that he misses it. Like, he doesn't take it in rhythm. The guy was so open, he almost just like freaked out, Jennings did, and he never recovered. He threw 2 pick sixes. He threw a third pick where Penn State stupidly, I mean, if this game was dicey late, James Franklin would have been crucified for going for that 4th and 1 at his own 19, up 14-0, where his defense is dominating. They got stuffed. SMU gets inside the 10. Jennings throws a slant that is deflected and picked off again. That was really the final straw. It was like, okay, they got no shot. But that game just snowballed. I mean, you look at like the box score. I mean, like Drew Aller was like 13 of 22. Nick Singleton had some nice runs, but Penn State didn't have to do anything because on offense. I mean, I'll give their defense all the credit, but on offense, I mean, the second pick six, Jennings, like imagine you're just on the other side of this camera. He just lobbed the ball right to the linebacker, and the guy ran it back for a touchdown. I mean, I kind of felt bad for the guy. I was like, I've watched this guy play 4 or 5 times this year. He's pretty good. He was a deer in the headlights. And I think what stood out, and I think it's true for all these games, is the power of the home field advantage. Cold environments, raucous crowds. SMU had never played in an environment anywhere close to that this year. Like these players, a lot of the players on that team will never play in a louder environment because you just don't have that atmosphere in the ACC. Clemson, night game, it can rock a little bit. Virginia Tech, but you're not getting Happy Valley in a playoff environment. Like that SMU was overwhelmed by that, and they just didn't play well. I think if they played their A game, they could have battled, but I mean, they played their F game. Their defense actually played okay. I mean, if you take the 2 pick sixes away, they gave up 24 points. I think if you were told, hey, you're going to hold them to 24, you probably would have taken it. But the quarterback just gave you no shot. And that's the reality of the situation. Okay, last night's game, we did a live watch party. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. Just quick thoughts. Notre Dame 27-17. It was not as close as the score indicates. Indiana had 2 touchdowns in the final, 4 minutes, whatever that was, because they got the onside kick. Jeremiah Love, a 98-yard touchdown run to start the playoff. That was awesome. But Indiana, everybody today is like, Bama should have been in over SMU. I think if anyone's under debate, it should have been Indiana. And look, let me just say this right here. I'm not one of these people on Twitter saying, this is why Bama, this is why Ole Miss. Like, let's calm down. This is the first year of this new system. First of all, Tennessee just got mollywopped, and they beat Bama. Like, we can't just I think the reality here is, and I've said this all year, there's no true dominant week in, week out teams. We saw tonight, Ohio State very capable of being dominant. Oregon at times capable. But from a week to week, 6 weeks in a row standpoint, we have not had that. And I think what's also true is after probably team 7 or 8 or so, teams 9 through 16, if they all played each other a bunch, they'd probably win about half the time. The reality is there was a lot of flawed football teams. Bama lost. We can't just forget that they got blown out in Norman by a bad Oklahoma team in the second to last game of the season. They lost 3 games. They lost at Vanderbilt. Ole Miss lost at home to Kentucky. Like, if you told Lane Kiffin before the year, all you have to do is beat Kentucky at home and you're in the playoff, he would have taken it 10 times out of 10. Well, he couldn't do it. And then he lost to 5-loss Florida in the last week of the season. So it's one of these things is Lane can go on Twitter and he can bitch and he can moan and he could say, thank you so much, playoff committee, for these awesome games. It's like, bro, all you have to do is not lose 3 games. And if you do lose 3 games, you can't have one of them beat a Kentucky and a second one beat to a 5-loss team. You know what I'm saying? My point is that there probably weren't great options. Like Indiana, SMU, probably not great options. But I said this coming into this system, and I'll say it now. If you were on the outside looking in a 12-team playoff, I don't want to hear your complaints. 12 teams make it. There are plenty of things you can control to be one of those 12 teams. And the bottom line is these teams just didn't do it. They did not do it. Miami lost 2 out of their final 3 games, and they don't have a ranked win. I don't really want to hear an argument. You could say, well, SMU lost 2 games, didn't have a ranked one. Well, they made their conference championship game and lost by 3 points. Like, they had to pick somebody. Like, I'm going to pick that team over Miami, especially with the way they finished. So it is what it is. Obviously, I wish these games were more competitive. We all do. But, I think Tennessee, a top-tier SEC team this year, getting stomped like that, should calm that chatter a little bit. Like, okay, guys, like, there were blowouts across the board, regardless of conference, regardless of who. Like, it is what it is. Sometimes that'll happen. Next year, maybe it'll be different. We'll see how time goes on. I do think some tweaks will probably happen. I would guess they tweak which teams get the buys. I personally would like to see the first 2 rounds be at home stadiums because my biggest takeaway of this is the home field environments were awesome. College football is meant to be played on college campuses. The NFL doesn't go to a neutral site until the very last game of the season. I understand these New Year's 6 bowl sites, all that stuff. To me, national title game, 2 semifinal games, you want to rotate the New Year's 6 every other year. You get one of those games. I know the Rose Bowl is going to throw a fit. Well, they could still have the Rose Bowl on January 1st if they want. They can do that. But the sport's evolving, and let's evolve with it. Let's have more home playoff games because that was pretty freaking awesome. All right, updated look at the bracket, and then we're getting out of here. Quarterfinals are set as Oregon, Ohio State, and the Rose Bowl. I mean, man, that could be fantastic. And like I said, if Ohio State plays like they did tonight, they can absolutely run the table here. Arizona State, Texas in the Peach Bowl. Be curious to see if ASU can battle the Horns in that one. One thing that's been consistent with Texas all year and was again today is that they don't exactly have the killer instinct. They don't play clean, perfect games. That game felt over multiple times, and they didn't quite put it away until the last few minutes. Notre Dame, Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. I think that's going to be a great game. No Carson Beck. I think Notre Dame's got a real shot there. And then Boise State, Penn State. Let's see what Ashton Jeanty can do. Penn State has a stout defensive line. If I'm the Nittany Lions, I'm putting 7 in the box, 8 in the box, and I'm playing man coverage on the outside, and I'm seeing if Boise State quarterback Maddox Madsen can beat me. And if he can, so be it. But if not, it's probably going to be a long day for Boise State. But these matchups should be better. Semis will be even better, and you go from there. So again, I'm not overreacting to the whole to the results of these games. It's the first year of this new system. Things will evolve, things will change, and it's one of those weird college football years where there really wasn't like that many dominant teams, if any, especially from a consistent week in, week out basis. All right, my name is Harrison Graham. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here on a Saturday night. We'll have something tomorrow, some NFL reaction probably to Sunday's action as that takes place on Sunday. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll have more content to come. See you then.